Back at the Farnborough Show 2024 with Ariane Maya and Roberto Chavez. Gentlemen, thank you for talking with me today. Ariane, let's start with you. You've had an amazing year. Deliveries are up strongly. Things are looking great. Backlogs at an all-time high. Could you tell us a little bit about how this is going in terms of deliveries and your production rate? How close are you to maximum production rate at this stage?
Thank you, Edison. Yeah, things are up. We're very pleased to see that. For the perspective, before the crisis hit, we were always around 100 aircraft per year for commercial aviation. We would have liked to grow faster post-COVID, but we've been very nimble and we've working closely with the supply chain to make sure that we under-promise, over-deliver to the market. We're a conservative company. We want to hit what we promise. So that's why now in 2024 we've given the guidance between 72 and 80 units. So we're almost back on track. We believe in the next 1 to 2 years we will get back to the numbers that we were before the crisis, and then we hope to continue growing beyond that towards the end of the decade. So if you want to hear like a rate per month, the 100 is around 8 aircraft per month. We think we can do a few more, but we will also have to work on some further expansion of our production line.
Right. So given the huge backlog, does that presuppose that you might add another FAL?
I'm not necessarily talking about another FAL. I think we could do within the current one, but as you may be aware of, Embraer has a matrix organization. So we have an operations and an engineering team that supports several business units. So you should not just look at commercial aviation, you need to look at the overall system supporting executive, defense and commercial. And the revenues this year, the guidance that we've given to the market is up to 6.4 billion of revenues, which is much more already than we did in 2019. Bundled with the fact that commercial is roughly at 75% of pre-COVID, means that the other two businesses have grown significantly since.
Right.
Which means the whole system is filling up. So we need to do some expansions to come back to the levels that we have done in the past. We've done levels well over 100 units in the past when we built E-jets.
Yeah.
Now we're doing a combination of E1s and E2s.
Right.
So we believe we can still grow within the current FAL because before we have to open up a second final assembly line.
Right. The interesting part for me here is if we look at the other OEMs, how that, like Airbus is the classic example, Tianjin, Montreal, Alabama. Is that something that one could look down the road for Embraer to say there's a potential to actually grow beyond Brazil?
Definitely yes. I think we have over the last couple of years talked more and more about partnership. We have a strategy which one of the pillars is about partnerships. That can be financial, that can be industrial, but we're also talking about doing completion lines or potentially more with external partners.
Right.
Of course, in all those strategies, we link those partnerships with the sale of our products. So if there's a big market that will support a big delivery of E2s for the future, then we are definitely willing to look at partnership approaches.
I mean, the obvious one that comes to mind here is India. That's a massive market and just seems to be exploding.
India is a massive market. We've been talking about China. We've been talking about Saudi very openly. We've been talking about Turkey. So there's a lot of big markets out there that we're talking to. But of course, those discussions are not a few weeks discussions. That takes more time.
Something that just pops in my mind here. Any comment about something beyond E2?
I'll make you one comment. I think our current focus as a company is on E2, Praetor, Phenom and KC390. That's what we're focusing on. We have people that we actually pay day in, day out, not only today but for many years, and I think you know those people very much in person. And those people are paid to look at what's next, and what's next is at this moment very broad, and we will, I think as our president of the company has mentioned, we hope in the next couple of years we can narrow that down. I'll add to that we are very much aware that everyone's looking at us, that there's more possible, and we're very pleased and honored with that. But that's not a reason by itself to jump into the deep waters. We have some real work to do.
Well, you know, from my line, from this side of the camera, it's the obvious question at an air show, right?
Yeah.
Roberto, one of the things that's interesting, obviously, is to see how everybody in this industry is struggling with supply chain. You're head of supply chain. You have to keep this whole thing together. You have to keep all the music on the beat. Embraer seems to have done this better in many ways than other OEMs, and from my perspective, it seems that because so much of your supply chain is internal, that you have a better view on what's going on below the surface. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we have been doing many investments to make sure we address this challenge we see today in the supply chain. I think there is a very important project internally that we launched that we call production leveling, where we expect to have a more stable production across the year, not only deliveries only in the last quarter, in the last month, but we want to have it more stable. This year will be better than last year, but we're still not there. We hope we can get close to that next year. And with our suppliers, we have been very active with them, right? So we are doing several different initiatives. One initiative, we are implementing a completely digital solution to integrate and connect with our suppliers. We are just bringing suppliers on board on this new tool, and this new tool gives us more transparency. It's more streamlining the process, so this helps the supply chain to understand clearly our demands and deliver things on time with quality. Right? We also changed our organization. We keep changing our organization to make it stronger, to manage the suppliers. We are implementing more local teams because most of our supply comes from US, from Europe. So we are putting people in the countries close to the suppliers. We also, I believe, we have a different approach with the suppliers. We like to collaborate. So when they are sometimes in trouble, we send our teams, we send engineers, we send buyers, we send the quality guys, manufacturing engineers, so sometimes we can help them to resolve the issues. And we are really engaged with the C-level of our key suppliers. So we have constant meetings, myself, Aryan, our CEO, Francisco. So we have a very good support from them. The environment is challenging, right, to everyone. And I believe it will still be challenging the next years because everyone is ramping up, keeps ramping up, right? So there is no buffer in the industry. So any problem you have today, nowadays, when you have a problem, it's a kind of a direct impact, right? In the past, since you had the buffers, you could manage some of these issues, right? So I think this is the big challenge today, to create buffer and stability again. So, but we have been working hard to make sure we can deliver what Aryan is selling, right?
It's very good to see that. It's interesting. Obviously, in my line of work, we talk to people in the supply chain. And what people are telling us in the supply chain is they do not get transparency from the OEMs. They don't know what rate is. The contracts that they have to write are very one-sided in favor of the OEM. And it's interesting to hear one of the other OEMs, we don't have to say who, has made a very big point of saying they are putting up to 250 people down the supply chain to de-risk their business. And while you're not saying 250, but you're saying you have go teams that
Yes.
fix this, but the digital transparency, I think that's novel.
That's key. We send our forecasts in a regular basis to all the suppliers. This will be now all digital, right? So it will be much stronger. We're also starting to apply some artificial intelligence in some of our internal process to help us with planning. So we are getting good results with that. So we can try to see the risks earlier so we can take actions to react. And again, I think collaboration is key with the suppliers, transparency in the information, right? About our rates, about ramp-ups, reschedules. We do that in a frequent basis with the entire supply chain.
And you have guys that are full-time with suppliers as well, right?
We have guys, we are positioning some guys that are inside of some of our key suppliers. They cover many others in the region. So again, we need to be close and also help the suppliers at the end. We want to collaborate to jointly have the success to deliver our products.
And they allow you to have the people in there. So
For sure.
They're offering the transparency by having our people.
We have very good collaboration with all the supply chain. I think this makes a lot of difference for us.
It's really interesting because maybe one of the themes that is coming out of the show this year is that everybody in the silo has a renewed respect for the interdependency of all the parts. You cannot sit on one side of the industry and say this is how it is. It's not like that. Everybody is so dependent, codependencies up and down the supply chain. It's really interesting to see that your approach has been much more transparent than I've heard from other people.
Yeah, and I would say it's part of our DNA. We really value the long-term relationship, the long-term partnership, right? Our contracts are for the life of the products. So again, we want, as soon as we get married, we want to keep married for the life. So
Right.
This is what we do every day here.
Right. And Adrian, that just comes back to your comment just before I spoke about the supply chain. When you spoke about, looking outside of Brazil, you used that word collaboration. Mm-hmm. That seems to be a theme, which is a very compelling theme.
Yeah, it is a big word at Embraer. Also internally Embraer, we don't talk so much about the business units. We talk a lot about one Embraer, so about that collaboration, because we know also the business unit cannot do it alone. Roberto is my peer at procurement. I have a peer at engineering and operations, and we work hand in hand with our peers from the industry in a collaborative manner. We know fighting your way to the finish line is not the best way to do it. So
it's a
we
team.
need to collaborate as a team, and that includes the suppliers. And the discussions are not always easy, to be honest, but in the end we need to get that together. There's no need fighting and not getting to the finish line.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.